Sometimes the biggest, most mind-blowing ideas aren't hiding in some dusty old book. Nope. They're actually hidden in plain sight, in our favorite video games, movies, and songs. And our whole search today starts with just one single haunting line of music.
Okay, let's just start with this one line. I want you to just let it sink in for a second. My mind and my gun, they comfort me. It's kind of chilling, isn't it? It has the rhythm of a prayer, but it's been twisted into something incredibly dark.
And that right there, that's the big question, isn't it? Because the answer to how a line like this gets written, well, it reveals this fascinating and really rebellious way of thinking that's hiding all over pop culture, just waiting for us to find it.
So where does this line even come from? Well, it's from a song featured in the video game The Last of Us 2. And what makes it so powerful is that it's not just some random dark thought. It is a deliberate, systematic flip of one of the most famous pieces of writing in the entire world.
Just look at this side by side. The original Psalm 23, it's all about finding comfort in God's protection, his rod and staff. The song takes that exact structure, but yanks God out of the equation and replaces him with radical self-reliance and, well, the tools of violence, my mind and my gun. It's a complete rejection of salvation from above in favor of finding power from within. And you gotta understand, this isn't some lost soul who's just confused. Oh no, there is this brutal self-awareness here. The line, I can't walk on the path of the right because I'm wrong. Wow, that's a stunning admission. They know they're on the wrong side of traditional morality, and they're not asking for forgiveness. They're just stating it as a fact of who they are. So you could just write this off as, super bleak, nihilistic despair. But what if it's not? What if this is actually a declaration of a totally different kind of freedom? That question right there, that's the key to this whole thing. Well, it turns out the key to unlocking all of this comes from a 19th century philosopher, a guy named Friedrich Nietzsche. And I promise you, once you get a handle on his ideas, you are going to start seeing them everywhere, from superhero movies to your favorite rock anthems. It all starts with this idea he called the will to power. Now, this isn't about dominating other people. For Nietzsche, it was way more fundamental. It's that fire inside every living thing to express its own strength, to grow, and to kind of stamp its own values onto the world. This is that self-reliant spirit from the song, just taken to its logical, philosophical extreme. And that leads right into his next big idea, going beyond good and evil. Think of it like this. Society hands you a rule book of what's good and what's bad. Nietzsche's whole thing was, what if you just threw out the rule book and decided for yourself what's right and wrong? Just like the singer who says, I'm wrong and just keeps on walking. Okay, so with all that in our back pocket, let's circle back to the song's haunting final line. At first glance, it just sounds like complete and utter despair. But if we look at it through this Nietzschean lens, that word damned, it might not mean what we think it means. What if damned isn't about eternal punishment? What if it's about a total, radical acceptance of your own fate? There's a concept for this, amor fati, which means love of one's fate. It's about accepting everything, your life, your choices, even your death, without wishing any of it was different, and without asking for some reward in an afterlife. The damnation isn't a punishment. It's the final, powerful acceptance of the path you chose. And here's the cool part. This whole pattern of tearing up the old rules to create your own meaning, it's not just in some dark corner of a video game. It shows up in a ton of different forms all across pop culture, and they're all pointing toward the search for a more authentic way to live. I mean, just take Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. His creator literally branded him a failure, a mistake. And Rocket's response? This line. It is a perfect, defiant roar of self-creation. He's refusing to be defined by anyone else's judgment. He's his own thing. End of story. And this rebellion isn't a one-size-fits-all deal. It shows up in a few different flavors. You've got the defiant path, which is just that raw power of the White Stripes' seven-nation army, basically saying, try and stop me. Then there's the hedonistic path, which just throws the whole concept of social shame out the window. And finally, the necessity path, from the song No Roots, which is the voice of someone who has to create a new identity because their old one was just gone. But we gotta be real here. This path, forging your own values, it is not easy. When you reject the world's rules, a lot of the time, the world rejects you right back. And that comes with a very real cost. And that cost, man, it's captured so perfectly in this one line from Green Day. It speaks to this deep, profound loneliness that can come from walking a path that nobody else gets.
Sometimes being truly yourself means being truly alone. But then there's a twist. Because for some people, being on the outside is exactly how you find your people. There's this band, the Dead South, and they have a song called In Hell, I'll Be in Good Company. This just flips the whole script. Suddenly, hell isn't a place of punishment anymore. It's a party. It's where all the other interesting folks who refuse to play by the rules end up.
Okay, so up to now, we've basically been talking about rebellion as breaking rules, right? Tearing things down. But what if that's only half the picture? What if real freedom isn't about having no rules, but about choosing which rules are worth living by? And this brings us to a really fascinating fork in the road. On one side, you have that raw, defiant energy of Seven Nation Army, just rejecting all outside authority. But on the other side, you've got Johnny Cash. In I Walk the Line, he isn't breaking rules. He's creating his own moral code, built on loyalty and commitment. The line he walks is a line he drew for himself. And that is an equally powerful way to be authentic. So after all of this, if you had to boil down this entire philosophy of pop rebellion into one single powerful image, what would it be? Well, it might look a little something like a reimagined Last Supper, just filled with a whole new cast of characters. I mean, just think about what's happening here. You've got Rick Sanchez, who is basically Nietzsche's ideal man on steroids, sitting right where Jesus should be. The whole scene becomes a gathering of anti-heroes. It takes a sacred symbol and completely revalues it, turning a moment of divine love into this chaotic celebration of pure individualism. It's that whole rebellious spirit made visible. So when you look at all of them, the broken singer from the video game, the angry space raccoon, the man in black, what is the one single thread that ties all of them together? It's this. Simple as that. Whether they do it by smashing all the rules or by carefully building their own, every single one of them refuses to live by a moral code that someone else handed to them. That's the heart of it. That's pop rebellion. And that's where we're going to leave it, with a question for you. After seeing all these different paths, the defiant, the lonely, the committed, if you were going to write your own code, your own line in the sand to walk, what would your first rule be?